We're going to discuss the importance and impact of leader and org wide AI upskilling and how leaders can approach AI upskilling and the need to foster continuous learning to meet the changing skill demands of their talent. I think we all know that AI is in the process of and will continue to change the nature of our work and the world. And we're all asking ourselves how we can best prepare ourselves to meet this change. For this reason, it's not only critical for today's leaders to upskill on AI, but for those leaders to upskill their employee base on AI as well. And today we're going to hear from a few leaders. I'm super excited about this conversation, who will share their insights on how and why investing in AI skills is so important. So, first, I want to just share that we'll be joined by Dan Brodnitz, a great friend of mine and head of LinkedIn Learning Content Strategy at LinkedIn, as well as Ashok Seetharaman, U.S. Chief Human Resources Officer at Tata Consultancy Services. And later, we're going to also pull into the conversation Elisa Graceffo, General Manager of Worldwide Learning at Microsoft. So thanks so much for joining me in this conversation today. Okay, Dan, I'm going to come to you first and get your viewpoint as the head of LinkedIn Learning Content Strategy. How is AI changing the skills landscape, and what does that mean for leaders as well as their employees?
Well, great to be here and great to see you, Naria. You and I have worked on so many outstanding projects over the last several years. Really fun to get to catch up. I think for us, the headline is that in so many ways, this is the year that AI becomes real for organizations and for individuals. And I'll share just three numbers to reinforce that. One is in our data, we've been tracking the percentage of skills that are changing. And right now, we're forecasting that 70% of skills are going to change between now and 2030. And that's substantially driven by AI. And that number does continue to grow. So we're feeling a real
Mhm.
acceleration there. The second thing is we're talking to global leaders to see how critical AI is to their roadmap. And 88% of global leaders affirm that it's critical to their planning for the future. And the last stat that I think is really fascinating is that we're starting to see bottom line implications of
Mhm.
investing in AI literacy. So we looked at organizations and we organized them into quartiles by how much they were investing in AI literacy. And the top quartile was showing 18% more revenue growth than the bottom, than the fourth quartile. And again, we think that's just going to expand. And all of that drives an imperative for companies to prioritize this. And this being the year to really lean in. And then I'll just give you one last, hopefully, insight from what we're seeing in our own program. We've been increasing our investment in AI upskilling training year after year. This year, we're especially focused on practical, hands-on training, and we're seeing that really rewarded in the engagement too, because managers, leaders, individuals are looking to build the skills that will really impact how they do their work.
That's really fascinating. And thank you so much for bringing in those stats, and definitely feel that acceleration of the skills. I definitely need to freshen up on all my skills, but especially my AI skills. That 70% of skills changing is super fascinating. And I'm sure it's music to some organizations and firms' ears to hear that there is an actual revenue implication as well. So, that dollar invested today may, really increase that productivity to, I think you said 18% increase or 18% more productivity.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's exactly right. And also, I know a lot of business leaders need to make a business case for the
yeah,
investment. And
that's
so, as
right.
we start to see that payoff, I think that'll become
Yeah.
clear.
It's not just a hype cycle. It's
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
real,
Exactly.
real translates into real productivity. I would love to bring Ashok into the conversation here. Really, Tata TCS is just a huge global company. And I wanted to just get a sense from you, Ashok, on really that massive, massive workforce that you have, 570,000 employees that are considered AI ready, just so cool, AI ready. We'd love to learn from you all about your training and how you do AI training of your employees at such a large scale. So, how does Tata view the importance and impact of AI skilling, and what are some of the ways that you've been kind of bringing in different strategies, tactics to really reach scale?
Hi, Naria.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Well, you brought in a very important aspect of TCS's values. Um, you know, we as an organization always believe that investing in people is a way of life. And in fact, it is one of our core values of the organization, which is learning and sharing. And since the inception of TCS in 1968, uh, we've seen several technology transformations that's come our way, be it the ERP, digital cloud, or any other technology that has come through. I think we've always been, uh, you know, at the forefront of enabling our employees to be upskilling and reskilling constantly. So it's a way of life for us. And like I said, in the 3 decades of my personal experience with the organization, we've made it a purpose of your life in the organization, that you're constantly learning. If you don't learn, you're not going to be able to be seen as a partner by organizations that you serve. And also for you personally as an individual, there has to be something that you need to learn and grow in your careers. So I think it's the same principle that we've tried to apply. Like I said, it's a way of life to AI as well. And when you have learning and sharing as a core value, it's important that you are sincere and diligent in predicting what are the future technologies that are going to be making you know waves in the industry, and for you to predict it and ensure that your employees, your associates are proactively trained. So I think we got AI a little early on, and
Mhm.
that's where we were able to predict how AI is going to transform. And our chairman recently even talked about this to our leadership when we had a meeting with him. He said AI is not just another technology transformation that we've seen in the past. Like I mentioned some of the other technologies, AI is in fact a civilizational shift. That's a very strong
Mhm.
message to come from somebody who grew in the organization to become the chairman, for him
Mhm.
to have seen. I think these are some of these insights that we have got, that we started early on. And we were able to, like you mentioned, more than 570,000 people of our 600,000 plus employees are AI skilled. And
Mhm.
we continue to move upwards in reskilling our employees, not just in terms of making them AI aware, but also trying to get them to understand how AI can transform journeys of organizations that we work for, transform
Mhm.
our own organization. So I think it's been part of our DNA that we were able to spot on AI as a focus early on, and you know transform and reskill our people.
I love that. I think, like you said, a few things that were just really resonated with me, that, that learning is a part of the DNA. I know it's something that our CEO also said, that we were going to move from being a know-it-all organization to a learn-it-all organization. So when you have that foundation of learning, when something new technology comes online, it becomes just okay. Well, let's go and play with this and learn and grow. And so I just really appreciated that. I'm just wondering if I could just dig in a little bit, because I know there may be some organizations that are not, really focused as more of that learn it all yet. And just what is like the tactical way where, like an approach that you all took at TCS to truly reach everybody with AI skilling? Just curious if you have any pro tips there.
Yeah, I can definitely share that. See, as part of TCS's goal, at the beginning of the year, when we set goals for ourselves. Learning is a very key goal. Like I said, learning is a value. So you got to spend at least 10 days minimum. You commit as a goal. Each employee
Mm,
will commit at least 10 days as a learning goal. And it's part of your goal sheet, KRAs. And, you know, and that 10 days, people use either to learn technologies that they are currently working on. How can they move from one level of proficiency to a higher level, or they try and learn on aspects like what are their future goals. You could take some learning goals that is going to help you grow in your career.
mhm,
And when such tectonical shifts like AI happen, as an organization, we also mandate that everybody should focus on AI learning.
mhm, mhm,
And just as we speak, we said AI is not only about learning it technically. AI, you also need to learn, help our leaders learn how
mhm,
AI works, how AI is going to impact their own teams, how AI is going to impact the customers that we serve and the
mhm,
society at large, how AI
mhm,
is going to transform, be it every walk of life that we do. So in that, we said all leaders in the company, we use top down, bottom up approach, all of it. We said all leaders in the company will go through a specifically designed program, AI, learning program called, it was called the AI Dojo program.
hmm,
And we said every leader will go through this. So they understand what technologically, AI is, you know, how AI is going to be, impacting, your work life, how AI will help you collaborate, and this seamless way of ensuring that uh, learning is sort of structured in a way that you have learning for leaders, you have learning for technical managers, the middle level managers, and you have learning for the junior level people
mhm,
as well. So each one is catered differently, and we ensure that they are able to appreciate how this technology is going to impact their role in which they are performing, and how AI will impact the organization at large.
mhm. That's so great. Like I think that the 10 days as a part of like really their plan for the year is so fascinating, super impactful. And I love the differentiation that you've really brought into all the learning and aligned it to people's roles and their career.
Absolutely. In fact, this year, I don't know if it's the AI wave. We've done more than 10 days on an average. If you look at it as an organization, we clocked the close to 11 days.
Wow.
Average learning days per employee in the organization. So
Wow.
that's
That's
the commitment and sincerity with which learning is done.
that's fantastic. Congratulations on that. Okay, Elisa. So I'm so excited to bring you into the conversation now and really learn about how Microsoft's worldwide learning is filling the AI skills gap with learning and certification opportunities as well. So, I know you get a chance to talk with a lot of customers. So I'm just curious to know what are the critical AI capabilities and mindset shifts that leaders must make to champion AI learning as well as transformation within their organizations.
Thanks for the question, Naria. It's great to be here. And I do want to key in on something that you said, which is a really something that we talk about all the time with customers, is that really thinking about an AI upskilling strategy across your organization does require a mindset shift, because people are really learning how to work, fundamentally work differently, reimagine their workflows in light of applying AI. And so as we're having conversations with customers about how to think about skilling across their organization, there's a couple things that usually come up in those conversations. One is that this is about really training everyone across the organization. Sometimes we say from the boardroom to the mailroom. This is about teaching everyone from executives all the way through to business workers and frontline folks. So that's one piece. We are finding too that people really are learning better when they're learning in the context of their functional role. So salespeople learning how to do sales functions in the context of AI sales scenarios. So that functional kind of use case, contextual to the person's role, is a really important thing in terms of helping people across the organization learn how to use AI effectively. And then the third thing I would say is really peer-to-peer learning and cohort-based learning, having this model of having kind of influencers help their peers learn how to use AI and over time, building a habit over time in smaller chunks is probably the third main scenario that we see and that we see being effective. It's not a case where you just attend one class one time and boom, you know what to do. It really is this kind of time to build a new habit and a new way of working in the context of your role.
Yeah, that's really great. And I do think that that context of the role is so important because then that mindset shift that really happens, it's so relevant, right? And like
Mhm. Yeah,
very much see and in the flow of the work, so you can see why it's
absolutely.
so relevant and helpful too. So
Yeah.
that's really great. Thank you. So I'm going to bring Dan back into the conversation. TCS is really leaning in and helping all of their employees get AI ready. Just curious about, from your vantage point with LinkedIn, how are you helping learners, helping leaders of their organization with their new AI upskilling needs at LinkedIn Learning as well?
Yeah, and there's so much that I think that that Tata is doing that I also
Mm,
want to sort of echo. They are wonderful partners of ours as well, and you can see the results he's talking about just in the way they interact even with LinkedIn Learning. A couple things really stood out to me. One is I think he's talking a little bit about this idea of AI everywhere, and that
mhm,
it's not just for a tech part of the business, for example. And that's been our approach from day one, that it goes across business, tech, and creative. Another thing is he talked about top to bottom, and I think I'd add a piece onto there, which is just middle. And I'm sure you're doing this at Tata as well. But it's exactly that idea of you need execs and leaders to role model this the way that Ryan, our CEO, does, the way that Satya does,
mhm,
for example, the way they do at Tata as well. You need to engage with individual learners and employees, but managers can play such a critical role as a lever in kind of giving their teams encouragement and permission. And I'll talk more about that in one more sec. Two other things I would emphasize. We've been thinking a lot about this idea of AI upskilling, not just as a critical driver for business bottom lines, like we talked about, and results, but also for building high performing teams. We've all been thinking over years now about. I think it was Amy Edmondson coined this term,
mhm,
psychological safety. And sometimes people think of psychological safety as kind of a nice company or something like that. There's so much more to it than that. I think when the team feels psychologically safe, they share information, they
mhm,
share ideas, they collaborate, they take risks, all the things that we all need our teams to do right now. And I think when Ashok was talking about Tata and this extraordinary culture they have of getting folks to invest in themselves, that has this ripple effect of building out a high performing team because the team knows that the company is invested in them. So that would be one big thing that I'm looking for, even as a leader myself. I'm trying to
mhm,
emphasize, and also I would encourage people to be kind of keyed into both halves of the equation: what AI does to change your productivity and your bottom line, and also how investing in your team puts them in a position to be high
mhm,
performers. And then the second thing is I alluded a second ago to the idea of giving your teams permission. There's a
mhm,
really practical piece to successfully upskilling your teams. You and I are both reskilling all right now, right? Everybody is involved in this. This is not a thing we observe. And when I play around with it myself, I need some amount of time. If I'm in 8 hours of meetings a day, I won't get the window that I need to make mistakes and try things three different ways and learn from my friends and compare notes and such. So that's half of it. Is I think leaders need to prioritize giving their teams time, and also, just like they do at Tata, and I think also at LinkedIn and at Microsoft, to really learn AI, you need to apply it to practical matters in your day to day life. And so, leaders and managers can help teams find a way not just to think of it in the abstract, but to make it more practical. One thing we've done to help this on the LinkedIn Learning side is we know folks can get overwhelmed by what
Mhm.
what a huge topic this is. So we developed something that we're calling the AI upskilling framework, which
Mhm.
breaks it into 5 different layers. It starts with understanding, and then it's applying, building, maintaining, and finally, deep specialization.
Mhm.
And when we share that with our clients, I think we're finding that there's even a sigh of relief from this idea of, okay, there's a way to approach this, piece by piece, bird by bird, to quote one of my favorite books. And even the way the library is organized, right? We've tried to be really thoughtful about
Mhm.
letting people access it, not just as an overwhelming whole, but getting to the stage that they're interested in. And for a lot of companies right now, it's about that second layer. It's about not just understanding, but moving now to applying AI in your day-to-day work.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful, and I totally hear and agree with all that you're saying about the psychological safety and really like bringing in that culture, so that people feel comfortable with like leaning into this new learning, and have definitely seen as well, the need for that upskilling framework and kind of providing a roadmap for people because it is such a vast topic and you don't know at what point to start. Are you a user? Are you creating? There's so much content coming at you, and that's one of the reasons why, for example, we developed our AI Skills Navigator, which is available freely to everybody online, because a lot of our partners were like, "Oh, our people don't know where to start." So if you go in there, you can actually use AI itself to help you learn on and upskill on AI. So 100%, on board with really creating those framework, creating those pathways as well. Great. So Ashok and Dan, they both talked a lot about like the creating that culture of learning, and I
Mhm.
know you would agree definitely that kind of quickly changing skills, we need to like ground that in that culture of learning
Yep.
that always exists, right? So just curious about kind of your thoughts on how leaders can promote and sustain that culture of continuous learning, innovation, and skill development, especially in light of the fact that things are changing so much, especially in this landscape.
Right. Yeah, I'm really passionate about this topic in particular because things are changing so quickly, and it's really just it's critical to have kind of that ongoing continuous culture in place for people to be successful using AI. Microsoft, we like to think about ourselves as customer zero, so we really try to use and deploy all of the technologies that our customers use as well. And so we have spent certainly a lot of time within Worldwide Learning, but also working with other
Mhm.
organizations across Microsoft to build and foster this culture of continuous learning. We do kind of broad things to help people get excited and bring people together, things like hackathons and promptathons and agentathons, and really helping people work together and figure out different ways to approach business problems using some of this AI technology. That's a way to both generate energy and help build skills. We have a lot of gamification. And so, whether it's a daily or a monthly or a quarterly challenge where prizes are involved, that's usually a great way to get people excited and energized and kind of keep going. And then, certainly, kind of just having these courses and feedback that happens over a period of weeks to months in shorter bites rather than again just having everyone attend a class on one day and then moving forward. So having some of that curated learning is super important to creating that culture. We have a great organization within Microsoft called the Garage, and the Garage is hosting weekly, sometimes multiple sessions per week on all different types of topics. So I feel we have an abundance of opportunity to learn within Microsoft, and so it's that combination of making learning available and then creating that culture and the energy and kind of the rewards and recognition around it, so people feel motivated to learn and they feel excited and proud and happy when they do learn.
Yeah, exactly. I love it's like meeting people where they are with lots of
Yep.
different modes and means. And I know some people in the audience may not have like kind of all of the the garage, for example,
Right.
at their disposal. But there are lots of different ways that you can even make it just even like a homegrown, fun competition within your team. I was mentioning before how we won our co-pilot challenge
Right.
ourselves, our team, and things like that, which is just making it fun and making it gamified. And it's so funny because as you were speaking, I was reflecting too on like a lot of times we're asked, hey, what's the top digital skill or AI skill that I need for the future? And
Mhm.
it's like, actually, at the end of the day, it's things like the human skills, right? That LinkedIn always
Mhm.
talks about, right? The collaboration curiosity, I think,
Yes.
is a one. And if you have that curiosity, I think it also fuels that continuous learning and to make it fun. And
That's a great one. And even just speaking of making it fun, a lot of times we find with people who are brand new to using AI, really making it safe, making it fun means actually just teaching them how to do something in their personal lives using
yeah,
AI. We have
yeah,
a really great and very popular course, which anyone can take. It's available publicly as well, called Design Your Dream Destination with AI. And it's all about just teaching people how to, you know, brainstorm, think of new ideas, how to create images, how to create, features and, functions. And it's a really fun course that people are proud. They proudly share their PowerPoint that they've made, at the end of the course because it's like, look what I did. And so just helping people find that even with a very common or personal scenario, building your own vacation plan is another popular scenario. So once
that's
people kind
great.
of can learn the basics in a really safe, very common, relatable scenario, they then feel more confident applying it in the workplace as well.
No, yeah, I love that. I love that. And I know that there are a lot of like scenarios and courses in the AI skills pathway too by LinkedIn. So anyone can go
Absolutely.
check them out as well, which is great. We
Absolutely.
got to do that dream vacation one.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
That's awesome. So I would just love to bring Ashok back on and just ask, have you approached using the framework and upskilling with AI? And kind of what one other question that I wanted to really ask is like this mindset shift. Dan alluded to a little bit of that mindset shift as well. So what is that mindset shift that you've really seen that leaders need to embrace as well in order to kind of fully bring in AI into their organizations?
Yeah, I would agree with Dan. And Dan also, beautifully talked about the approach. And Dan, yes, you have been a true partner, and we do have a lot of tools like LinkedIn Learning that our associates have used to upskill. But coming to the question, see, irrespective of roles, everybody needs to know how AI works. Actually, managers or leaders need to know how, in their role, AI is going to work. And it's very clear from our experience so far that AI is helping leaders make data-driven decisions. So leaders are already able to see the benefits AI is able to give them, and people have to this mindset shift that we talked about. See, AI is no longer some sort of an automation tool or something like that. It is an augmentation. You know, AI is augmenting, you know, whatever you're doing. It is, something that is, helping people think out of the box
Mhm.
and challenge the traditional methods of problem solving. So one of the key things that we think was to be open to innovate and experiment in the entire mindset. And in that, our framework that we used was not only looking at technical skills development like AI, ML, or data science, but also look at human and leadership capabilities. How can you adapt integrated learning approaches, like the role-based approach that I talked about, And I think this is the sort of mindset, the shift that we are driving with our leaders, that they have to look at how AI is crucial in guiding teams and adapting to the changing roles of and responsibilities of people doing work.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, and Dan, I wanted to just ask you really quick question as well, because back on this point about how do we surface all this content, how do we make it so that we have the culture of learning, which is wonderful. Then when you get to the actual tactical part of like employees starting and learning what to do, so that we all can get to that point of being AI ready, like TCS is. I know LinkedIn has been working, and we've been working together on a lot of these AI skills pathways as well. So I just wonder if you could share a little bit more about the pathways. How could somebody get started? What could someone expect to see if they were to engage on one of these pathways?
Yeah, no, and I'm really very great to spend this time with you, Ashok. Sorry to keep coming back to this, but this kind of partnership between the three of us, I think, really helps individuals find their way. People have that anxiety and that opportunity, and when the organizations are committed and working together, it makes such a huge difference. For us, what we've noticed is that in companies, sometimes one team is really AI forward, and another team isn't quite catching fire that way. And that might be because one leader is really enthusiastic, or like one individual on that team is enthusiastic. So we've been trying to think about how to provide an offering that works for the whole organization, that thinks like role by role. What do you need, for example, if you're a project manager, right? And that's what you're alluding to there. I think, Naria, is we created 150 AI pathways, which are learning paths that are role oriented. They also come with certificates, many of them certificates that we worked on together with Microsoft, because it's just as important for people to have a way to in this moment to have evidence to show that the work they're doing is paying off, to let people know the skills that they have. And I think I would add to that, like what I'm finding again for myself in my day-to-day upskilling is I need a network, right? I need folks that I can reach out to when I get stumped. Sometimes that network, might be OpenAI, actually might be ChatGPT, or it might be Claude, or it might be Gemini, it might be those tools. But it's also so great to find people in your team who have been there already and can kind of show you the way. So like this combination of companies and organizations really leaning in together, I think networks of folks across those companies, and then resources like the AI skill pathways that we've put together can go a long way toward helping people reinvent themselves for the moment.
I love that. Yeah, that's so wonderful. And Ashok, like very truly, like, I think some of the things that have really jumped out to me the most in this conversation is really that it all starts with culture, right? And I think it's like strategy eats culture for breakfast, or that quote everybody knows. So if we were to, let's say we have a culture of continuous learning, we have resources and skilling pathways, we have targets and metrics and leadership that's excited about it. How do we keep the momentum going? It's a question for you, Ashok, and for Dan. I'm gonna come to you with the same question. Like how would you tell like a leader right now of an organization to keep the energy high, and the culture of learning high on AI? Like what are some things that people can do to make sure that that happens?
See, what we did was to ensure seamless access to tools and know-how, both to our associates and our leaders, is made available. And we have partners like you who can give us the learning content. And TCS, with our own experience, we've created AI experience zones and platforms such as the TCS Wisdom Next platforms, which is a playground. We've created playground for AI, where we put all the tools, like I talked about, learning tools, TCS solution tools, and it's important to create an ecosystem first, and give access of this, and we take all our partners, including our customers, our alliance partners, and so on and so forth, to get all of them to see value in being part of this ecosystem, so that we mutually benefit. And it's also important that there is a constant reinforcement how we are able to see immense possibilities in AI. How are we seeing quick results? If we have some quick wins, we want to amplify those to our people and say how a project manager has used AI in doing his work more effectively, how we have been able to solution a customer more effectively. So bring some of those case studies. We've created several channels within the organization. We have something called AI Garden for TCS learners, where we put all tools like uh, there are so many open source learning tools, whether it is the open source Llama, Mistral, DeepSeek, the Azure platforms, Copilot. We've given Copilot to a large number of our users. We've created a secured sandbox environment where people can come, not just learn, but the most important thing is how do you give them the practical experience of playing around with these tools. You experiment. You have to think out of the box. You give them the tools, create the ecosystem, and along with that, you have the leadership reinforcement. With that, I think that really helped us transform how people look at AI learning. And that really was the big game changer for us, that people started to see productivity in their own lives. I can give you my own example. When I was given Copilot, to play around, you know, we were trying to create at some point, we wanted to create some best practices of, HR. We were doing an organization-wide, initiative. So what would have otherwise taken me probably several days or weeks to put all the best practices and go through, we were able to get this done through Copilot in no time. We were able to we gave prompts, and it was able to give us output. And then you sort of sit and work on that output to refine it and get exactly what you want to achieve, and then give. So this saved us a phenomenal amount of time. It was much better output. And things like this help me talk to my team and tell them, hey, I think start looking at some of these tools, how. And then it created I would say cascading that to the next level, and they would try in turn. And this sort of experiential sharing with our teams. We created like the AI dojo for HR. We created one specific program for HR, where how AI can impact and help HR was a core theme. We ran it for 3-4 weeks, where everybody would spend a particular amount of time every week, so many days. And thereby I think it required some commitment from the leadership level as well. And like I said, creating the right ecosystem, enabling the access, and giving them the tools to play. And I think these are things that really worked for us.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing that super want to call out that it's important in the story that you shared is that you had an experience and shared that with your employees too. So it was a little bit of that leadership kind of vulnerability, and also like, kind of lifting up your own story to bring others along, which I think is really important as well. And Dan, over to you, same question.
Yeah, I agree with all that, of course. I think I maybe just tack on two things. One, to your point about we have the same notion of like Teams channels where we're sharing our learnings, and getting folks to kind of having their brains oscillate quickly by seeing the sparks of what's possible. One thing that our senior leadership told us very early on that I thought was really powerful was that you can't really learn how to apply it to your business, which in our case is, say, building a platform, for example, unless you get your hands dirty, unless you actually start using it. So that'd be one thing, is like the learning has to be applied. And it kind of goes back to that theme I said up top about this being the year that AI gets real. The second thing is, I think it's such a unique moment, and I really liked what you said earlier, Ashok, about this being, I think, a civilizationally. What's the right phrase actually?
It was, it's a civilizational shift.
That's it. That's it. So in those kinds of moments, it's very easy and sometimes even natural to express them as a leader with something that can feel like panic, right? And of course, you can go the other way and pretend it's not happening. Both of those are bad extremes. I think the good place to be is with purpose, and purpose can lead to urgency. So I think as a leader, sharing a strategic narrative to your team, creating a vision for them about how they're part of the future, and you're investing in them, right? And you believe in them, but that we're all going to have to make this change together, and that the stakes are quite high, but in a positive way, right? It's just that fine line that I think is worth really excelling at as a leader, in giving people this sense of possibility and urgency and purpose.
Yeah.
And Dan, just to add to what Dan said, I talked about this reinforcement. And in our CEO's message to our employees, he keeps talking to our employees in various, whether it's the town hall or, communications or emails that he shares his thoughts, from time to time. The last couple of years, if I have to go back and think of something that our CEO has been saying consistently, is about AI.
Yeah.
Telling people that how AI is, like I said, it's not another technology, transformation, but it's like, something which is like, once in a lifetime
Mhm.
of a change. So everybody has to be, invested, and this is something that came top down. It's when your leader says that I'm investing so much time, I'm
Mhm.
trying to learn. Are you learning? I think that's a big statement, and that's what prompts and propels a lot of next level leaders to cascade it, and so on. And I think it, it it's that leadership guidance that really made a big difference.
Yeah, yep, I love that. It top down and then bottoms up too. I think it's like when everybody in the company is linking arms and marching towards this one goal, it does become like it gets ingrained and embedded in the culture too, which is always very exciting. So,
If
uh,
I'll just throw one other, just to your
mhm,
point, if I could, Naria, one other practical note. I've been telling some of my folks to consider jumping the line. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're a project manager, or you're a data scientist, or a content strategist. The folks in your organization that are really enjoying it, and they're all in, and they're figuring stuff out. Go talk to them. That's
mhm,
like, I think there's this tendency to kind of start at the back of the line, but there are folks, I think, in every organization who are a little bit ahead, and this is a good moment to learn from each other and help them sort of
yeah.
move forward.
And also a good point for managers to also see the folks who are
Exactly.
really raising their hand. Like, I know we have a person on our team who's not her day job, but like has become like the de facto like champ of the community. And we actually had a little healthy competition too with a co-pilot cup that they released for our group. And we did win. And a lot of it was because this
Wow.
person who like really led the whole team. And again, it was not in her job description, but she really took the mantle because she was so passionate about the technology and sharing the learning. So I love that point. Okay, I'm going to have a round robin question for all three of you. So it's like a lightning. Okay, so like keep it light, keep it punchy. If you could provide one piece of advice for leaders and managers that you haven't said yet, so that's what makes it hard. One piece of advice that you haven't yet shared on this call as they implement AI skilling, what would that be? So I'm going to start with Dan.
This isn't original, but there's this advice that's floating around there that you've probably seen about, try yourself to
Mhm.
use AI for everything as a first crack. You have to filter, but I've been doing that in I do coaching, for example, with colleagues and friends. And so I've been trying to figure out every point of the process. How can it help me? And I just think the more that we are leader coaches, that we're, player coaches, the more we're practitioners as well as talking about it, the more we'll inspire folks to dive in.
Love it. Great. Ashok, how about you? What's one piece of advice?
I mean, again, I will quote what some of our leaders have said, that everybody should have a perspective of what AI is. There are so many perspectives out there, but it's important that each leader, each employee, each person in the organization should have a perspective of what AI means to him. And I think that perspective for me changed the way I look at AI. So I think everybody needs to have their own perspective of what AI is to them, and obviously be responsible. Responsible AI is again
Mhm.
very, very key.
That's wonderful.
I would say, meet people where they are and really think about what is it that they're trying to do in the context of their functional role, bite-sized, peer-based, influencer-based skilling over time. It's really about building a new habit for people.
So great. Really, really well said. Thank you. I loved all of your answers, Dan, Ashok, and Elisa. Wow. I just want to say, first of all, a huge thank you to Ashok from TCS, to Dan from LinkedIn Learning, and Elisa from Worldwide Learning at Microsoft. Really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you all enjoyed hearing from them as well. I know I certainly learned a lot. And speaking of learning, just a couple of great takeaways that I wanted to double click on. The first one, you know, when we're thinking about AI skilling and how we embark on this new moment and this new AI world, really taking that culture of learning that we already have within an organization and building on that foundation is just so key and so important. I also think another great takeaway is meeting learners where they're at, and thinking about different roles and how people do their jobs, and how can we really take those scenarios and then think about how AI can really help supercharge people in their work. And this whole theme too of that, the top down approach is very important. It's super important that executives embrace this topic and really play with the technology themselves and authentically show up to really share their experience and also encourage others to learn, but also letting things organically happen from the bottom up, making sure that if people are excited about it, letting them run with it, having some gamification in there, a little healthy competition never hurt anyone. So those are some of the key takeaways that really resonate with me, and I've definitely found to be true as well. I also wanted to just, in closing, call out a few resources that are available. We're very excited about the AI skill pathways from LinkedIn and Microsoft. Please check out those resources. We have a information on how to get that here. And also, if you don't know exactly where to start, we have our AI skills navigator, and that also links over to the AI skill pathways as well. So I want to just say thank you, everyone, for taking the time and the opportunity to invest in yourselves and learn about AI skills, and also invest in how the rest of your organization and your companies, your nonprofits, your firms, really is a testament to all of you that you're here to learn, not just for yourselves, but also for your organizations as well. So with that, until next time.